Welcome back to Alpine Garage Sports, friends. You're in the garage here with Chris. So if you'll do these three things, if you'll like this video, if you'll subscribe so that we can be a family together here, and also leave a comment. Let me know who you are, where you're from, and what you're about. That way I can learn more about you, and I'll be telling you more about where I'm coming from. And then this fall, we're gonna live the prime life, and we're gonna show you all kinds of things, and it's gonna blow your socks off. We're talking about college football, specifically CU, today on National Signing Day, February 1st, 2023. Coach Prime had his first real kind of press conference being a coach at CU. So this is one of those duties that coaches have, to sit down with the press and answer questions, give kind of some basic vital information out so that, you know, people can write papers and stuff like that. And it's a really great thing for coaches to be able to communicate. This is his first one, so he was just basically throwing out a bunch of numbers, kind of where they sit for recruiting and stuff like that. And I'm going to break down the highlights for you, or at least the highlights I felt were important out of this press conference. And the first one was that he was talking about the fact that he just loves Boulder. In fact, he took a pause and he said, "I just absolutely love Boulder, Colorado."
Let me start by saying I absolutely love Boulder, Colorado. I really do. It was a hidden gem for me because I had no idea. I ain't never been skiing. I really never played in the snow. And 14 years of the NFL, God just blessed me that much. But now I'm just ecstatic about Vail and everything associated to this. I absolutely love it. He
grew up in Florida. He didn't ski. He didn't really play in the snow when he was a kid. And now he's there. And he didn't say this. This is my caveat to that. You can tell Coach Prime is kind of going back to his childhood that he didn't have, which was the snow and, you know, all of those things. Anybody that grew up in the Midwest or grew up in the West or even really northern parts of the South probably had snow on occasion. And you remember those snow days. You're out of school, make snowman, go sledding. You know, you and your friends would tie a tube to the back of a F-150 and do donuts until someone's got hurt. Those were the good old days. Well, there are a lot of players that played in Florida and California and some other parts of the country that never got to experience that. Coach Prime is experiencing that right now. He is enjoying it. You know, we take for granted, I sometimes take for granted that it really surprised me. I took for granted that maybe people didn't ever see snow. I've only been around snow my entire life, so it was really, really polarizing for me to see him say that. And the fact that he's so passionate about that, instead of just, it's cold and, you know, it's not like Dallas and things like that. He didn't say that. He said he absolutely loves it. So that's the first thing, is that he is really melting into the culture of the mountains in Colorado and Boulder. And that's great to see. Coach, welcome. Now, he went through the stats. Now, his stats were talking about recruiting. So he said that they visited 150 schools for recruiting. Man, can you imagine that? 150 schools in 2 months in order to recruit. Now, that said, they have 42 scholarship players now that have already been signed. With the way that our players play, I mean, we have a lot of two-way players and some three-way players, but they play offense, they play defense, they play special teams. We probably only need like 11 people on our team because they can all play every position. That's how talented we are. That's a joke. We actually need more than 11. Now, out of that, 29 of those 42 are here for spring. So there's a lot of guys that aren't going to be here until either after school ends or after summer session, the summer break. Most states start it like in July sometime. Give you 2 months to get in shape. I've heard him mention this before. He really likes walk-ons. He likes to have that mix of walk-ons, people who are underrated, but are phenomenal athletes. And he said that he has signed 6 walk-ons in this process right now. That's 6. That actually really surprises me a lot. And he said that they're actually going to be, one of the notes that he said was, in the spring they're going to have another walk-on camp. Hey, I still have 4 years of eligibility, Prime. 4 years. Okay, I need to do a little bit of running, but I'm ready to go. And I'm committed to Colorado, so you don't have to worry about me like flipping for NIL money or something like that. The most interesting stat that he threw out there is they just had their junior recruiting weekend. So these are high school students that are going to be graduating in 24, 25, 26, and 27. So basically you have your 4 years of high school there. 67 of those recruits came to Boulder this last weekend to check out the facilities. And some of the recruiting notes that I've seen, a lot of them were blown away by the facilities. So at a young age, they're going to start dreaming about going to Colorado, and it's going to be hard to get them to flip. So we're talking about, we're going to be good this year. 24, 25, 26, 27, lights out. 5-star, 5-star, 4-star, 4-star, 3-star, 5-star, 4-star. It's going to be nuts. So they're from all over the country, which makes a very good, unique atmosphere. Whereas you go to some schools in Florida and California, and they're very, very West Coast, very Florida-based. So there's not a lot of difference in the culture there. There's obviously going to be a big culture variation between the different players at CU, and being right in the center of the country in Boulder, and we'll talk about Boulder at a later date, but in Boulder, it allows them to really express themselves and learn from each other, and it's going to make for a fantastic environment.
That sounds really good. Good job. I mean, it sounds really good. You did a great job. Great job. Can you give him a clap? Good job. You did a good job. You're making this stuff sound incredible.
One of the other notes that he put out there is that Colorado is the only school to sign a 5-star transfer portal player and a 5-star high school player. That's huge. It's fantastic, and that shows other 3 to 5-star players, or really good players, that those 5-stars want to come here, and as years go by, it's going to start an avalanche. It's going to be hard to stop.
Start practice March 19th. 4 practices that week. We're going to be off the following week due to spring break. I really hate practicing then having spring break because they forget every darn thing you taught them. Okay, then the game is part of a Black and Gold Day on April 22nd that kicks off at 1 p.m.
A big announcement today from Prime. April the 22nd at 1 p.m. is the spring game. Now, normally spring games are afterthoughts, primarily students that go to it. Offense versus defense, black and gold game. This game is going to be bigger than literally any game, any spring game in Colorado history. And I wouldn't be surprised if I saw ESPN and every major news network there. And Alpine Garage Sports will also be there, God willing.
We have a great staff. I really feel like we have a tremendous staff. We have a track record that has notably won. And I'm not the coach that dictates everything. I want to hear all my coaches speak because they have so much. I just gave you how much, 244 years of combined coaching. I like to hear because I want to know what works. What do you think works?
So he mentioned that there's 244 years of coaching experience and something like 5 head coaches on the football team, which I believe that's right, 5 or 6 that used to be head coaches at some NCAA level are now assistant coaches at Colorado. That's a lot of coaching experience. Now, Prime's only got a few years in college of coaching. He's got many years at high school level of coaching. But all these other coaches, they're brought here in order to really coach their individual disciplines and make a better team. Coach is not going to really take a whole lot of ownership in the entire coaching process because he wants to allow his individual coaches to be able to do what they're talented at doing. And he knows by stepping in there, he's probably dulling that down. So he knows where he's at. He actually said that. He said, I'm going to let these guys coach. That is unbelievable. He is actually going to allow his coaches to develop their own players. And of course, by doing that, those coaches are living and dying by their scheme and their program. But at the same time, you've got Coach over here, Coach Prime over here, saying, giving them direction when he feels like they're going off the side, or once we get into season, we have to make adjustments. He'll probably be the first one to say, hey, there needs to be an adjustment here. Coaches are going to have to change that. So he's letting them right now mold what they're going to do. And then once they get into the season, he's going to be more hands-on in making the adjustments to the team.
We're not done. This is just a pause. This is just a comma. Because there's a lot of people that's going to bungee jump in that portal after spring because they're going to be disappointed in the playing time and the commitment or the level of participation that they're garnishing. And we're going to take full advantage of that. So we're not done. This is just a comma for spring.
Another key note is he said there's still more transfer portal to go. So he says that he's looking, if it's quiet right now, to the National Signing Day today. Obviously, we signed Cormani McLean legitimately, but we knew he was coming anyway. There wasn't a whole lot of big 3 to 5 star players still left that hadn't signed, and the ones that didn't come to Colorado. They had already committed to other schools. Even though you may have seen out there that, they were coming to Colorado, I didn't really push that out there because I kind of knew that none of those players were coming to Colorado. Jaden Rashada, I did a video on Jaden Rashada. It was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago about the fact that he wasn't coming to Colorado. A lot of people were publishing out there that he was coming to Colorado. Why would a 5-star, one of the best QBs coming out of high school, play backup? He's not going to do that. He can always transfer to Colorado, but we got a quarterback, and we like our quarterback, and our quarterback is really good. He talked about how he recruits.
You got to understand, the kid is a young child. He don't remember me. I'm an old school guy. I'm old, Their parents do. So the parents are finding the consistency of the way I maintain life, in the way I've maintained myself, and the consistency thereof. So more so than anything, we're not just connecting about football. We're connecting about life and navigating that kid through life.
He, like most good coaches, appealed to the parents in the biggest way. So the students or the student athletes are really important. We want to change their mind. But a coach coming in that they don't know isn't going to change their mind as much as their parents changing their mind. So they invest into the parents. Kind of like we talked about Bill McCartney, the old CU coach that won a national championship. We did a video on that. You should go back and check that out. He was a master at going into these households and preaching the Bible and talking to their parents about how he can turn their young men into grown men. And even if they don't go and play football, they're going to come home and they're going to be better men. And that's what Coach Prime is doing. He's also going in there and he's talking about how CU's facilities are the best in the country, that their kids are going to eat like champs, that they're going to have the best facilities to train in, that they're going to have tons of media on them and give them lots of exposure, and that their living conditions are not only clean and beautiful, but they're safe. And then you have the culture piece of Colorado. A lot of these players never visited Colorado. So they're coming to Colorado, and there's a culture piece there that they're missing anywhere else in the country. So there is the deadlock cinch right there. What he said he doesn't do is he doesn't promise them a starting role. He doesn't promise them playing time. He'll give them all of those things that Colorado has to bring. So NIL is not a thing here. Now, obviously, there are players making NIL.
So I don't sell nothing. That's the thing. It is what it is. One of the first things I say, if you're here for NIL or to be rich, we're not the school for you. But if you're here to become a man, get a degree, a tremendous education, and grow, win, and go pro, possibly if you do all the correct things, we are. So we're not here for the NIL, we're here for the NFL, and we're here to make you a man.
We're going to talk about NIL in another video, but it's essentially how these players now can actually make money, whereas even just 6 or 7 years ago, they couldn't make money as a college football player. In fact, it was an NCAA violation for them to do it. So now they can make money, but they can make huge money. We got Florida, who was trying to get Jaden Rashada for $13.5 million of NIL. Now, obviously, that fell through. But Coach Prime isn't promising him that. He's not promising huge NIL dollars to come to Colorado. He doesn't have to because of the facilities and the boulder and the mountains and the coaching and the media and all this other stuff that's going on. It's got a value in its own that these kids will never see at another university. Then NIL will come. That will come naturally. But we're not going to promise it to you. You're going to have to go out and earn it. Again, the earn it part.
He has to play and earn it. I can't help him do that. Earn it. That's on him. But I could give him the navigational system to go get it.
I can't remember what reporter actually was, but they said, so many things have happened in Boulder over the last 2 months. What is the biggest change in Boulder that you have seen? And Coach, without even pausing, said the attitude.
Where are you seeing the biggest change in the way this program is run?
Our attitudes. Everyone in this building has a commitment to excellence. Everyone in this building is on 10. Everyone in this building is like you're getting in the blocks and you saying on your mark. They're on their mark. Get set. Now they're ready to go. Everyone has a different pep and a step about them. Everyone, they see it. They see that, it can really happen.
The attitude has changed. So obviously when he got there, there was still a lot of the old CU football mentality there. And I'm not saying that that was bad. Probably it was the same as most other football teams. That is not what Coach is about. Coach Prime is about, he said, a commitment to excellence. If it's not the most excellent thing, it has to go. That's my takeaway. So this is a caveat to that. So this is I could just tell you what happened in the press conference, but this is my takeaway of it, is that when you expect excellence in an organization, what you're expecting is for every individual person in there to not only understand what they are doing has to be at a very high level, but also that what they're expecting out of other people has to be at a very high level. Now that accountability to each other, me and you, if your accountability to me is high and my accountability to you is high, then we're both going to be better. If you're going to call me out for me being lazy, being on my phone when I shouldn't be, basically wasting the university's time and wasting the time of these athletes, then you're going to call me out on it. And I don't want that. I don't want that. I want to be known to Coach because he sets a high standard as the hardest working person in that university. I want to be there first. I want to be the first person to swipe my card to come in because they have logs for that. You know, they have logs. You see them swiping their badge when they go in the football room, okay? I've worked in those types of facilities before. So that's an RF card, and they swipe it, and then there's a computer somewhere that logs every single person that comes in, okay? And it shows who got there first. So University of Colorado, don't tell me that you guys aren't seeing who can get that first swipe in the morning and who gets the latest swipe going out. Now that is excellence. You have to have a family balance, but this is college football. College football, there are no loves lost in that whole thing. But you want to, when you're working, when you're there to work, you want to be the first one there and the last one to leave. And that is a commitment to excellence. It's delivering a product to your consumer, and your consumer is everyone else in the football facility. It's the players, it's the other coaches, it is the administrators, it is the equipment managers. You have to have a commitment to excellence, because if you don't, if any one person does not have that commitment, it starts a cancer and it starts to erode the culture of CU football. No one in CU football is going to want that to be them. And that is where the standard is set. It takes most CEOs, managers, coaches that come into an organization, it might take them 6 months. You know, a specifically long amount of time to change culture. You got to determine who you have. You got to make the changes. You got to set up standards and rules. And then you have to hold people accountable to making those standards and rules a practice that creates a culture. Coach Prime came in there and they did it immediately. That's the kind of power Coach Prime has. And everybody says, you know, Coach doesn't have a lot of experience, and, you know, there are a lot of negative things about Prime being here in the media, which, by the way, if you notice, it's starting to get less and less. He's starting to prove that he can do this. It is the fact that he can come in and, like that, change the culture of an institution. Who can do that? There are not a lot of people that can do that. Coach Prime can do that. And that's what he did. And so he laid it all out there. What's the biggest change? The change is the attitude and the commitment to excellence. Kudos, Coach.
This place is unbelievable. I think you see that, and I believe that. It's not even work to me. This is pure joy. To get up and come to pure joy every day and smiling faces from the cafeteria all the way walking on the floors when you're getting on the elevator with different persons. That one of my most enjoyable moments is sitting in the cafeteria and seeing the other sports participants, the players, the students eat, dine, and sit together, and that's one of my most enjoyable moments because I get to see everybody. And when I go to a game, I can see them. And I even went to the lacrosse game this week. I couldn't stay long because we had some heck of recruits in the house, but that was beautiful. And I actually picked up a stick and threw the ball. I should have got into lacrosse like Jim Brown. I would think I'd have been nice with it.
He stated that his favorite thing is sitting down at a table in the cafeteria, in the athletic cafeteria there, which all of you have seen. That's in every single one of Bucky's videos because it's such a great spread. But he just sits there, watches the other sports disciplines at CU come in and eat, and the camaraderie there, and the mixing of the students from sport to sport. And you can tell that when he's doing that, he's dissolving himself from football for a little while because he's such an athlete that He loves, you saw him watching a track meet the other day. He loves track, he ran track. He is a student of culture. It would be easy to say standing on my balcony and looking at the mountains, looking at schemes that they're going to be running in the spring, or picking out the uniforms for 2024. But he didn't. He said it was sitting in the cafeteria and watching the student athletes. Really, this guy just wants to soak up the culture of this university. And I respect him so much for that. I am so glad he's here. I am so glad that we have a great football team. I am so glad that the university has wrapped their arms around this whole process. But more than anything, I'm happy to hear he is a student of the culture of CU still. He is not just the catalyst of the new culture of CU football, but he is engaging in the culture of the rest of the disciplines. And it's just amazing to me. I just don't know what to say at that point, so I'm not going to say anything. If you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. We will be bringing you content that is thoughtful and insightful about CU football, about the program, about the X's and O's, but primarily about the culture, so that you can learn more about this area and more about Colorado football and more about what Prime is doing here and how it's affecting the local people here in Colorado. And I want to hear more from you. How is it affecting you in Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia? By the way, Atlanta, Georgia, you are my #1 demographic city. #1, Atlanta, Georgia, like by a huge margin. In fact, Houston's #2, and you're crushing Houston. Thank you to all those people in Atlanta and Houston and all the other cities that are watching. That's a wrap from Alpine Garage Sports. We'll see you in the next video.
We have a commitment to excellence, and it's working, and we're winning. We're ecstatic about the potential, and we're just getting started.